All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Couch Chats. I am Todd Sellon, and today we are in Southern Michigan with fellow staffers Heather Sellon, Michael Tepe, and his wife Sydney. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having us over. Michael and his wife invited Heather and I to come down and have a barbecue today. So we had some delicious venison chili. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you guys have never seen Couch Chats before, it's a new series put out by Fall Obsession that that incorporates blue-collar sportswomen like ourselves that have real conversations about topics and questions that you guys, the viewers, send in to us. So with that being said, we had a few questions sent in to us last week. One of the first questions that was asked it was actually sent in by Libby of Holland, Michigan. So thank you, Libby. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Libby.
She sent me a long list of questions. So we're going to have a couple of those tonight and kind of go from there. She asked, how do you get women and children involved in the outdoors? Specifically, how do you get them involved in hunting, fishing, and those sorts of things? So I'm going to turn it over to the ladies because obviously they have a little more experience with women and children and outdoors, children in general, but
for sure.
and women in the outdoors. So let me ask you, what drew you guys to the outdoors? How did you get involved? What motivated you to pursue hunting and fishing?
Well, I mean, I always love being outside anyway, so it's probably why we were attracted to each other, right? It's like outside we do too. But well, I mean, I guess him kind of knowing that I'm not a pro.
Okay. Okay.
And just spending time together, and I would say taking the time to teach me and helping me be successful before I learn everything, I guess, which would keep your excitement,
for sure.
Keep you pretty excited, keep you motivated, keep you wanting to do it so you don't have to spend all those years learning. You get to kind of get right to it, have the fun, be successful, and then kind of learn along the way. Because as moms, we were just saying, we don't have time to sit there and, learn and fish. We have a really hard time when we're fishing.
Are you competitive? Are you competitive?
No, it's because of the kids.
Too many kids.
The kids are trying to jump off the boat, and we're like, stop! So he's trying to run the trolling.
Michael's trying to jump off the boat, right?
Get me out of here.
I'm going with him. He'll be trying to run the trolling motor, and then I'll be trying to fish, and then Indy's throwing things of crickets off the boat, and the kids are fighting,
throwing nets off the boat. Throwing fishing poles off the boat.
So we have to, we really have to try to work, at it. Okay, we'll pay you guys $5 each. Please watch the baby.
Funny you say that. When we first had Tala, I remember Tala kind of gravitated towards me a little bit more than Heather when we were on the boat. And so I kind of took her, I showed her how to fish, and I showed how to bait a hook, and I showed her how to take the fish off the hook, and what do we do with the fish. And I even had her clean a few fish and that sort of thing. When Piper came along, our youngest, Tala was still always right there, and then Piper gravitated towards Heather more than myself.
She wanted nothing to do with you, even to the point of when we just tried to get her to daycare. She wanted nothing to do with him. But I will say she has changed, and she's at the point now where she wants to go out, bow hunting with you, and she wants to go out and experience that. We were talking, Sydney and I were talking earlier, how we feel like we may have been kind of the guinea pigs for you guys. And you guys had to teach us how to hunt and get all the quirks and the kinks and all that figured out, so that by the time the kids came along, you've got it all figured out and smoothed out.
How to teach without running them off.
Yes.
Yes. That's important.
For sure, because I started.
It's frustrating being a teacher.
I started hunting to hang out with you, just like you had said. But then when things got tough, I took 5 or 6 years off. Because it wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. There was too many other things that I had to do, and it was like, no, I need to make dinner. I need to grade papers. I've got to watch film for an upcoming basketball game. Like, I don't have time to do this. This isn't enjoyable. And it's not enjoyable when I come in and I don't have a deer and I feel like I'm put through 20 questions about, well, what'd you do? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Are you sure you
Where
weren't
did it come
sleeping?
from?
What was the wind? Like,
Yeah,
did you hear it? Were
Yeah.
you talking?
How big
Were
is
you-
it?
No, I wasn't talking to
Is it-
myself.
Were you reading? You were texting a lot.
Come on. Is it a Boone and Crockett? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you get to that
So true.
and you go through 20 questions, it's like it's not enjoyable to go through that. So, yeah, we do kind of feel like in some ways we were the guinea pigs to help prepare, you know, the kids. Because I'll tell you, like, Tala just went through hunter safety today, and she's pumped. She's ready
That's
to go.
awesome.
Oh,
She's
she's-
excited. It was the best week of her life.
Today's the
Like,
best day of her life. She said that to me several times.
Wow.
Dad, best day of my life by far. I'm like,
I was
that's
called
cool.
a
And that's gotta make you feel
I was
good.
called a professional.
What an awesome feeling
Yeah,
too
yeah,
as
yeah.
a parent, you know,
Uh-huh.
it's been all these years and now you have a kid who is really excited about that.
especially a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a young girl to be like, okay, you know how to, out of all the weapons you could have practice on today at hunter safety, you chose the bow.
That's impressive.
That's the one she wanted.
That's
And
the one
she-
she wanted. Yep.
Very
Mhm.
impressive.
and she grouped them. So
Yeah.
to see that kind of stuff, it makes us really happy.
Yeah, it took a lot of hard work to get there.
Yeah,
You know,
a lot
it's
of
really hard
patience
to
and
be at the level that they're at,
Mhm.
and then having
Yes.
to take it down now and try to teach a child from start to finish.
Mhm.
It takes a lot.
Now, you. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I really liked when we were talking earlier today how you were saying how when you took Arrow out, that you would put him in a wagon and you'd make sure you had snacks and you'd go about 10 targets and then you'd have to have a good break. And
I know.
Yep. Yep.
and I that
Set
hearing
them up
that
for comfort,
yeah, well,
family
yes.
time.
Hearing that, I was like, man, that is exactly what we did. It was a 10 to, I knew we had a 10 to 15 target time before, you know, you'll see me carrying them and I have like snacks coming out of my pockets. I have a water bottle in my back pocket,
Oh,
carrying one. And you just don't see that. Like, I felt, in a lot of ways, I kind of felt like I was failing as I was doing that with the kids because I was like, oh, my kids can't go through 30 targets without
Mm-hmm.
doing this. I didn't realize, like, that's okay.
Well, you have to think how little they are, and then
Yes.
you know what is going to be enjoyable for them. They're not going to be able to go target to target, stand there, shoot, and then be able to go from that. You know, they're not
Right.
doing that. So,
Right.
okay, what level are they at? Arrow was at the level
Mhm.
where he liked just sitting in the wagon in a perfectly comfortable little like child-sized lawn chair
Mhm.
with a cooler at the end. He liked suckers, so we were stacked with
suckers.
suckers.
Yep.
We had every juice you could think of, every little hand snack, and his thing was he liked holding arrows. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
So like as soon as I would shoot one or before I was gonna shoot one, he would hold it for me.
Yep.
He even liked retrieving. He loved going and getting the arrow.
That
even
was
when
Tala.
Ella was little.
Yeah.
She liked to go
Oh,
get
she
it.
liked
She
to
liked
put
to
the
go get 'em.
and Piper
That
liked
was
to
his
pose.
thing.
Piper liked to lay on the alligators and pose with the alligators.
Yeah,
and,
They
you know,
like
the
to be
different.
a part of it with
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they're ready
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
And if you push them before they're ready to move on, they're never going to want to be interested. But if
Absolutely.
you're like, well, what do you want to do? Yep. Do you want to stand back and watch? Do you want to do it with me? Do you want to shoot your kid bow? Do you want to get a bigger bow? Do you just want to go run and fetch arrows? And even just as simple as Arrow going and fetching the arrows and Ella learning, I can't shoot while he's fetching.
Right.
And
Right.
Arrow knowing, wait till she's done and going and fetching arrows is a huge accomplishment.
So you're still
That's
teaching
so
those
true.
basic
Step
safety
one.
issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's
safety
literally
standards. Yeah.
step one. And a
Yep.
child being her age.
Uh-huh.
Okay, honey, go get the arrows and
Yeah.
bring them back. They're
Mhm.
like, wow, this is so cool. And they're part of it.
Yeah.
And they love it.
And that was such an adjustment for us as parents because when we finally realized like that was okay.
hmm
And like you said, you forget sometimes all the other things they're learning that are just as valuable.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But as competitive as Todd and I are, we're like, okay, who's gonna win this one? Who's gonna do this one? That sometimes we had to take a step back and be like, it's
Yeah.
okay that it's not so competitive.
No, it's not. I got to win always.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Now we're back to that.
See, we're back to where the husbands are in their
Yes.
We'll teach you guys that.
But it's okay that our walking through the 3D archery trail doesn't look the same as someone who doesn't have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
gonna
that's
take
sure.
a lot longer.
For sure.
And that's,
Perfect story.
yes.
Oh,
Perfect.
It's gonna take us a lot longer.
Like
We might
twice
have
as
to stop and
Yes.
catch a frog or two.
Yes.
Perfect.
We lost
Perfect.
a tooth! Yes! Tooth fairy's coming today.
Thank you.
So
Okay, we'll talk about it when we go back downstairs. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. That was an emergency. So good.
You're missing 3 teeth now, Pip. Good job.
How are you gonna eat an
So
apple?
It is. Can you put it up there? We don't
Good
want
job,
to lose it.
guys. Yeah, you gotta save it for the tooth fairy.
I
Don't
have
lose
something
it.
she can
Look,
have.
Ibby's saying good job. Say yeah.
You got something right there, and
I
then
think I do have
This might be the part we edit out, Todd.
yep, we
Yeah,
got to
it's
edit
gonna
this
have
out.
so we were just talking about that when we go through a 3D archery trail, it doesn't look the same as someone who doesn't have kids, and that's okay. Like Cindy was saying, you might have to stop and catch a frog. You might have to look at the creek. You might have to look at everything around you, and that is completely okay. And I wish, 35-year-old me had known that. I wish I had known that as a mom, that was okay,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it would have,
Been more enjoyable.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And it wouldn't have taken me out of the love of hunting for those 5 years, but I didn't give myself that grace. I didn't know that was okay.
So one of the best, when Libby sent this question is how you get kids involved, my thought was formality. How do you get them involved formally? Well, they got to take hunter safety. They got to take all these steps to become hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's not the case. We have to get them involved early. And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that we did. We got them involved early. Tala, our oldest now, she throws an absolute fit if we don't let her gut a deer. I shoot a deer, and if I try to gut it, she throws an absolute fit.
That's awesome.
But she's always been around. She's always been around when we field dressed animals. And
Well, she had to be. We didn't have anyone else to watch her.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
She had to.
yes, she had to be around.
No,
Part of it though.
No.
They need to see it.
makes my life easier now.
So
Yeah.
he's the one. The men seems to be always the one that's thinking of the formal thing,
Yep.
what they need to know, how to shoot the bow, and we're thinking of,
Yes,
well, we have to incorporate them because we don't have a babysitter. So how are we going to have them
Yes.
join us?
yes.
So I mean, yeah, that seems like a
We had so
pattern
many.
in there.
Yeah, so many times we went out on the quad.
Mhm.
I had Piper in the front pack, or in
The backpack.
or you would take Tala on the quad,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would actually hike out with Piper in the backpack, which is, I mean, half a mile walk. I mean,
Yeah,
not,
half mile,
not
yeah.
huge, but when you're in thick, big boots,
Especially if it's dead of the winter.
And it's dead of winter. It's
it-
cold.
it
It's
gets
yeah.
rough.
Mhm.
But the kids were in full winter gear, snowsuits and stuff in there, and they've always been part of. I
Well-
didn't really think about that. They've always been part of it.
And-
They've
and-
always had to
In
come with us.
stories we have involving our kids, with both of them, we have kids. We've had stories with the kids.
Yeah.
You want to tell your version or my version?
Which story?
Maybe
Both.
we should have you both tell your
Yeah.
version so we can see it.
With
from
Tala,
both points
when
of view.
Tala came home.
So Tala's birthday is October 5th, and bow season in Michigan starts October 1st. So Todd was able to do some hunting a little bit before. He did not hunt the 5th and the 6th, and then when we came home on the 7th, he dropped me off. Keep in mind, I am a new mother, okay? He brought us home, and within 30 minutes of bringing us home, he was headed up to his stand. And of course, of all nights, that's the night he shoots a buck. A small buck, but he shoots a buck. And he's just all excited because this is like he shot this buck on the day that brought Tala home.
Tala's buck, yeah.
Yeah, it's Tala's buck.
We needed meat, and I didn't know how much we'd be able to get out. Yeah, so.
You shot it because you were all excited because we had brought Tala home. And so keep in mind, new mom, super emotional. And now I have to go track a deer because he didn't drop the deer like he normally does. And I have to go and thank God my mom came over and she watched our child. She watched Tala. So I could go help him find this deer. We never did find that buck that night. And I finally at one point was like, nope, I'm going home. It took me about 4 hours to get to that point. I'm exhausted.
4 hours of tracking.
I'm tired. I'm miserable for all different reasons. I'm completely miserable. It's funny, by the time Piper came around, I was like, nope, I'm not going out. You're on your own. You need to drop the deer and you need to take care of it yourself.
She says that, but the day that we got home, she was in one of our deer blinds with Piper strapped to the front of her, and now Piper was born during rifle season.
Okay.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so
November,
Tala's got Piper in the front.
Oh,
I had
wow.
my bow with me though.
You had your bow. You had your bow. Didn't have a gun. You had your bow. Yeah. So she took her out. So here's the other thing.
It wasn't the day she came home. She was like a week old.
So here's the other thing that here's the other thing that I thought of that Heather has mentioned to me before, and then we're going to come to Mike here because he had mentioned something here a few minutes ago. But Heather has mentioned to me that hunting in general, fishing in general, is a huge stress reliever. And so for her to take a newborn just home from the hospital out in a front set, just to be out there is a huge stress reliever.
It was. It was very enjoyable. I just went out just to be outside. I had no intention of getting a deer that night. I had the bow. I don't even know if I ever put an arrow in that night because I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. But just to have her out there and to have myself out there was a huge, huge moment of relaxation and rest and being able to rejuvenate.
And that's kind of our theme in general. How grumpy do I get if I can't get out?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
I'll kick you out.
Yeah.
And for me,
I hear you there.
Yeah.
And again, that's true for us. That's true for us.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a huge stress reliever.
number one.
Yeah. If I can't get out, it's not because I don't get upset because I don't get an opportunity to shoot a deer. I get upset because I can't unwind, or I don't feel like I can unwind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm sitting out in the woods and listening to the the different sounds of nature and feeling the cool breeze and just relaxing, and in our house we live next to the highway, so we hear all the cars hitting the rumble strips, but still.
Yeah, but you still got to listen to Mother Nature.
Yes.
And then those sunsets, those sunrises, watching the woods come alive in the morning, watching it go to bed at night. I mean, you can't like manufacture that in any other shape or way into your just daily life. I mean, you just can't. I mean, you try, you just can't.
Right.
I can't
Absolutely.
get him until like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like,
How often do I come?
night.
Well, every time I go out, I come in after dark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every time.
And I will say, I feel a lot better. I get much more nervous when you're doing it when you're not on the property, just because when you go out by yourself, I do. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do get nervous. Like, okay, are you okay? Did you like when you're in the tree stand? When you're in like your shadow hunter, I don't worry. But when you're up in a tree, it is. I worry. I definitely worry. But it's not so much when you're on the property, our own, because I'm like, I have it timed out at this point in our lives and our marriage. Like, I know, okay, hey,
Yeah,
sun's
good idea.
down, and I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you, he might be trapped in his stand by some does now.
Or side of the road at dogs that kept chasing me that one year.
Yeah, you did have that for a
And
while.
neighbors' dogs kept trapping me in the field, so I'd call Heather up. You need to come down. As soon as I stepped to get out of the field, they would come. It was a Rottweiler and a big German Shepherd.
Wow.
They would chase me back into the field, so she would have to come pick me up.
Oh
I
man.
kept having to have him come get me because I'd be like, "There's all these bucks behind me. I don't want to
Yeah.
scare them off."
We'd have
Yeah.
too
And
many
if they
deer
knew I
out.
was there,
Yeah.
I'd blow my
And
cover
yeah,
they know
so
where I
I'd
was.
hop on the quad. And,
Yeah.
Man, there was multiple nights in a row
Oh, it was like
and
every
it's
night
like you
for a
knew the
while.
quad didn't scare him after dark because we did it the next night, and same amount of deer.
Yeah.
Same deer a lot of the times, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
you know, sometimes you got to think about stuff like that when you have the option to do that.
Yeah.
So it's fair to say that from your guys' perspective, the question of how to get women involved, again, it's more individualized because what fits for one might not fit for another, and so on and so forth. You guys are basically saying it wasn't the formality, it wasn't taking hunter safety, it wasn't going through the steps, it was the support you needed in order to feel like you're comfortable to take that step, to be able to engage and to become involved in that. Correct?
Yeah.
Well, and I know for Sydney, we first started dating. I told her right off the get-go, avid hunter, you're going to see me a lot less from October 1st to January 1st. It is what it is.
I feel like this. I feel like this is the same conversation that we had.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like, hey, better just be upfront and be honest. That way, you know what's coming. That way, you're not, what's going on? So it come around that first hunting season. We started dating in August that year, and that first hunting season came around pretty quick. And I'm out hunting, able to, put some meat in the freezer, and she starts to realize that, hey, this is kind of neat. We're not going to the supermarket to get meat. Mike's got a freezer full of meat, and I go get this healthy, organic, lean meat, and I don't have to go to the store and go get it. We don't run out of meat. I make sure I harvest enough deer to get us through the rest of the year. I have never purchased, outside of going out to a restaurant, but I've never went to the supermarket to fill my freezer with meat. I'm very proud of that. And it's just, I think she saw that providing, because she told me right out of the get-go, I love animals. I love Mother Nature. I'm not going to tell you not to hunt, but don't ever ask me to hunt.
Not interested.
Not interested. I'm not going to kill an animal because I don't got it in me. And I'm like, fine. I won't ever push you to go hunting. Well, our first year together during gun season, I said, hey, going hunting. And she'd kind of hinted around like, I'd like to spend some more time with you. And I'm like, well, if you want to spend some more time with me, you might want to start tagging along. Because I still have a buck tag to fill. The freezer needs to be filled. And I'll be darned if I'm not going to give it my all. And she kind of went along with it a couple times, multiple times. She's sleeping on the floor in the shanty, giving her a nudge on the leg. Hey, there's a buck standing there.
Bam. She rolls over and hits snooze.
In my defense of that, I was in college full time. I was competing, in college full time. And I was working almost 40 hours. So yes, when I was at the base of the tree sleeping, I needed the sleep, okay? I'm still supporting you.
Pick me up when it comes.
Guess what? You didn't. You didn't wake me up until like 5 years later. You let me sleep, so it was good.
But so for her, like I said, she did a 180. Okay, I'm absolutely not going to hunt. Do not ask me to hunt. I think she realized that once she got to, witness the actual process of hunting, it's not just the stereotypical guy that just goes out and just blasts a deer, the slang redneck, hillbilly, stuff like that. That, a lot of hunters get a bad rep that, they're just doing it for fun. They're just doing it to kill. They're not being, they're not taking all the meat. They're not being respectful.
Without understanding the conservation and the preservation piece.
And I feel like she's seen
the
that.
environment and all that.
Yeah, she's seen it
Controlling the
firsthand.
carrying capacity of the environment and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Being the conservationist, it's not just about being a hunter. It's about leaving the land better than you found it, leaving the herd better than you found it, the environment, and so once she's seen,
hunter doesn't even do that.
No. And when she's seen all this stuff like unfold over the course of like a year, she's like, hey, I'm kind of interested.
So let me ask you this: did you have that perception of hunters?
Oh yeah.
When you
I was
said
like,
I'm an
why
animal
did you
lover?
kill something
Yeah.
and take a picture with it? That's horrible.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was just like, cool, but I'm not. I don't get it. I don't understand where you are with that.
Yeah.
And
That's that whole grip and grin.
I had never been
Yeah.
into that, and I always just kind of thought, gosh, I just feel like that's kind of that's so mean. I don't know how you could do that. But then I really realized, like, he put so much work in, and it's so easy to go buy a cow from the store, go buy hamburger and eat it, and you have no idea how that cow lived. You have no idea if it was abused, if it lived in this little pen, if they ate only corn or whatever they eat, or if they really got to graze. And let's all be honest, we probably can't all afford all of the cow
parts.
that gets all the grass.
Yeah,
and it's actually fed the healthy cow diet. So I really wasn't into it until I really started to see how much he put into it. And I think when we went out and we actually filled our tag with that deer that was sick. Remember that one? The first one I got, we could tell it had been eaten.
It wasn't.
The plot. It was little.
It wasn't
never
sick.
gonna
It had been
survive.
injured.
Gotcha.
Yes, it had been injured. It wasn't sick, but he was pretty skinny. It was muzzle loader season. Ribs were showing.
He'd been eating like all winter on the food plot.
Yeah, he was on one of our food plots.
Putting your weight on.
And no, he wasn't gaining any weight. He was limping. I'm pretty sure he got hit by a car.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't that we went out and set out for him. It was just he showed up, and I had known about him. And, I just, there he is. If you want him, he'd be a good one to take out. He's not going to make it through the winter. He lost so much weight.
For sure.
That's a big part is where they're just suffering.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a horrible way to die. So like I was just
it's funny because we have the stereotype that hunters go out just to harvest animals and take animals out. It's not really the case, because in this situation that you're talking about, you're really doing the animal a favor, because if you don't do something to help it out, it's going to suffer throughout the entire winter.
It's going to be very slow.
It's going to be slow.
Horrible.
Starve to death. They could get eaten, torn to
literally be killed while they're alive by coyotes. Yes.
So, because it can't defend himself.
Can't run away. Don't have the strength.
So how is?
Never would have. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you can.
Well, I never would have seen it from that perspective until I was actually educated on it, and I really didn't even taste the difference. Like, I'm not one to be afraid of different kinds of meat. So I tried it, and I was like, I don't really know the difference between this and cow, other than I feel like this almost kind of has a little bit of like the jerky taste to it. Right. But like I didn't really notice it. Like it wasn't any different. I cooked it the exact same. A lot of people said, well, I cook it, half cow or half sausage and half venison. I've never done that. I just do all venison. I've never had a problem. I make everything the same as I do burgers. So I don't see any difference other than it's better for you. It tastes better. For sure.
Yes.
I appreciate it more now, and we can tell our kids, we don't waste this meat. We don't just go buy it at the store. This we work hard for. Even our chickens. We do the same thing.
Well, and an animal had to give its life for us to eat.
Exactly. We raised it, we harvested it ourselves, and so we respect it.
Yes, respect of the animal.
Not to just buy it and throw it away, because that's an animal.
Yep.
So it's a learning process. It's easy to go to the store and buy it, and you have no idea what that cow was or what it went through. But we know our deer are happy. We feed them. We give them water back there. You've taught me a lot. That's I would have never changed my mind or ever even considered it if you wouldn't have taught me everything.
So what have you guys learned by having to teach and educate and help us?
By treating you guys like guinea pigs, like you said.
I know I should set your time limit if you come home with a baby to 4 hours and 25 minutes instead of just 4 hours.
I would say number one thing that I have learned is patience. Didn't have the patience with my wife. I'm used to doing things my way. I know how I would react when this deer comes into the situation and I want to harvest it. And I'm expecting her to react that way and it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's such a learning curve there that she has to learn as a new hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like she was saying earlier, with us getting involved, us men that have already been successful, we can help shorten the learning curve, but we still have to give them time, and they may never get on the same thinking level like we are on 2 steps ahead on what we need to do to make sure to harvest that animal, but we can try and make it better for them. But it's patience. They're not going to come right out of the gate and just be shooting deer at long distances, making great shots, knowing exactly when to draw their bow, exactly when to grunt. And so, yeah, I think being the guinea pigs, unfortunately, you know, it will help us
with the kids.
With the kids. Because now with the kids, we'll know way more patience, way more just about making it fun.
So I remember when I tried to get Heather involved, you know, I would ask her right away, hey, you want to come out with me? No, I got this going on, that going on. And then when she did start coming out with me, like you said, you would fall asleep or you would, you know what I mean? And so making noises, even how often did I get on you about sniffling? Stop! You gotta be quiet.
My nose would be running.
Yeah.
I would be
suck it up, Buttercup. Look at, I didn't get this chap nose for anything.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not. If I can't like blow my nose, like no, this is not enjoyable.
And she'd be coughing. I'd say, well, what are we even out here for?
So
what did we come out here for? Just to educate every deer.
Exactly. So to your point, we really weren't teaching him why you don't cough. We really weren't.
We were just don't do it.
We were reacting to what was going on. So we're more reactive than actually educating. And so I think the biggest thing that we learned is just how to educate. Once I realized that you really wanted to understand. So the thing that stuck out to me, the thing that kind of was the light bulb moment for me was when we were in quarantine. And Heather hadn't hunted in a couple years, and I just figured it was because of the girls, because the kids came along. Your mom helped out a ton. Mom was no longer with us, so we had to try to figure out other ways to be able to hunt, but then also take care of the kids. So we would try to swap as much as we could, but usually I was the one going out, and Heather was at home. But
with limited time, it was we needed meat in the freezer, and I knew without question that you were going to put the meat in the freezer and then I was going to cook it. It just worked for us.
Good team.
So
it just worked.
So, but with that, during quarantine, we had a lot of extra time. You know what I mean?
Just a little bit.
And so we were always outside doing stuff. And as it got closer to deer season, I had a food plot. I had already made a food plot, but we really didn't keep up with it. I mean, it was there, but we didn't really manicure it like we should have and take care of it the way we should have. And so I had asked Heather if she wanted to come over. And at that point, the girls were old enough to be able to stay at the house on their own while we were out working in the field. On the same property, yep. And so we went out and worked and got this food plot looking really good. And, we really began to click as an outdoor couple at that point, I felt like. We were learning from each other. Like you said, the patience. I knew that she wanted to learn, but it wasn't me yelling at her about sniffing or coughing, but it was saying, hey, here's what we need to do. Here's what. And so
I felt like an equal, not as the kid. And I think for often I felt like I was being treated as the child, which, I mean, I was a novice, so I get that part, but just, I didn't have that same tone of voice. I would agree with you. I think that when we were working on that food plot, that you just had a change in tone and change in attitude of how you handled me as a newbie and really treated me as an adult and not like a little kid. And it was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I know when I said when I got back into hunting, it was going to be on my terms, and that was definitely a big step.
That was fun.
Yeah, for sure.
It became fun again.
Yeah, and so we, we told the story before, but we'll finish telling the story again because I don't know if you guys have heard the story. We made the food plot. Once the food plot was made, we had it planted. I go to Heather. Okay, we got to put the stand up. We have a patch of trees here. We got some scattered brush here. We can always put a pop up back on the south side. Get some brush off to the west. What do we want to do? Do we want to brush in a pop up? Do we want to put up a tree stand? She goes, I want to put a tree stand up in that tree right there. I'm like, well, what about that tree? She goes, nope, that tree right there. Okay, let's do it. Yeah. So we ended up putting a ladder stand up in the tree that she picked out, and just so happened that that's where the deer come in. So what we did was we built this food plot. So they have a bedding area, and then there's a huge cornfield. And I don't know how many acres it is, but when they get up out of the bedding area, instead of going right to the cornfield, what we found is they come to the food plot, feed a little bit, and then go off into the cornfield. And where they come in to feed was right by the tree that Heather had picked up. And so that was pretty cool. And we there were trails there, but geez, there are so many trails all on our property, both properties. This was across the street at your dad's, that it's hard to tell. And we didn't have cameras out on the property at that time either. We didn't have any cameras, so we just kind of said, "Hey, we're picking that tree right there," just because Heather said so. Yeah. And it happened to be right by a major trail. That's where they used to get into the cornfield.
And then it was probably
my first morning out there.
Well, it was probably 2 or 3 days later. I feel like it was 2 days later. I went to take care of the horses that were over there, and there was a massive buck, and I was able to pattern it over the next 2 days of where it was going and be able to give him the information. And that I'll never forget that Saturday morning, he was like, "Do you want to go?" And I go, "No, I want you to go, and I want you to put that deer down. We know it's going to be there." And within 15 minutes of sunrise, I had a phone call.
Wow.
Head on over. We got a buck down.
That's awesome.
And that is, to me, that's our trophy.
Teamwork, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
In a different podcast, you talked about your bear and your antelope and all these other ones. I get it, but to me, that is our trophy. Like, it's not
because we work together to
get it was the first time that we actually worked together without fighting, without arguing, and we were able to put that deer down according to plan.
That's awesome that you were able to do that too. Like, that's something I have not done yet, is like went and got the SD cards and brought them back and looked on the camera. I'm like, hey, when are they going to be there?
Yeah.
Where?
It's funny to say.
And I didn't
so,
it was, I literally just did it as I was doing chores every night. That buck, I noticed he was out there every night. So I wasn't going and checking the cards, which I mean, I need to do that more. But I was able to, it was just during I was able to take a couple extra minutes and be like, okay, hey, he's out there. Hide a little bit, watch him, watch his progression out, and then once he was gone, finish up the chores.
He's good at that. He knows every deer, every turkey, where it's at, exactly where it's at, what time it's going to be there, what time it's going to leave,
or what time we think it's going to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
What? Where? He tells me everything, and I'm like, I have no idea.
And I feel like I'm better at it at the property where I grew up at, than I am across the street where we're living, and that's just across the street.
Oh wow, yeah.
I feel like he's much better at it in the back.
Well, you really weren't allowed to roam the property as much in that capacity. In other words, looking for deer, looking for game. Just when you're chasing cows, seriously, when you're doing the farming
cows
thing.
Are out. We gotta go back there.
Because I remember your grandma when we first moved in. She's like, Todd, you can go anywhere you want on the property, and she was still living at that time, living on the property at that time. And so I just explored, and got familiar with the property and developed an understanding of that side. So it's funny you say that, because when I go over to your dad's across the street, I feel the same way. I don't feel like, until we started hunting over there, now I know exactly where they come from. And before that, it was like, it takes me time. So, so guys, patience. You want
one
involved?
key. You want your women to stay involved, be patient with them. Don't have high expectations. Okay. I'm not saying don't have expectations, but just don't think they're going to be on the same level you are. I don't care if you've been hunting for 5 years or 25 years. There's more of a learning curve there. It's not as natural from what I've understood.
Yes. And when you think you're educating, make sure you're truly educating and not just throwing facts out. When you're just throwing facts out, they could be misinterpreted. Yeah. Right.
Tell them the why.
Yeah. Make it
meaningful. Tell them the why.
The most important thing is making it meaningful.
Yes. And to do it in more of a conversational tone versus, and being very cognizant of that versus feeling like you're being, as moms, we've got a lot going on, and we're already exhausted and run down. And so to be questioned and to be made to feel like we're doing something else wrong is not going to go in your favor. And it's not going to help the situation. I mean, I'm not saying anything that Todd hasn't known. It's a big part of why I gave it up for, 5 years. We couldn't make it work. We couldn't figure it out. And so to be able to have those conversations now, as adults and have a really great conversation. And as you said, to be educated in a meaningful way, like, it's a lot more fun.
So it's not a formality.
No.
We started, I said, Heather, you got to take hunter safety. You got to take hunter safety.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
That's
Yeah.
last.
We know that it's a formality, but until we make it relevant for you guys, until
And
you
get
see
you wanting to do it.
yes. And then you say, I should probably take hunter safety because now I want to be a part of this.
Well, in the state of Indiana, for sure, and I think Michigan, but I know for a fact the state of Indiana has got an apprentice deal now. So no matter how old you are, they give you 3 years of hunting with a person that has a valid hunting license with you that's also over 18. And then you're allowed to go for, it's either 3 seasons or 3 licenses.
Sure.
And then you can figure out, hey, do I really want to hunt before I invest all this time and money into gear, into a hunter safety course? And that's what we did. We took her out hunting. I want to say you burned up your 3 licenses in about a year and a half. Because if you're not a youth, it's 3 licenses. If it's a youth, it's 3 years in Indiana.
So it could be like...
So you could be like 1 deer tag, 1 turkey tag, and a small games license. And I think that's what she did.
Gotcha.
That's when she got that spike buck. We took her out turkey hunting, and she did some rabbit hunting and stuff with me. And I told her that summer after the turkey tag, you're done.
Yeah.
Apprentice is up.
Yeah.
It's time to take the hunter safety course.
Safety, and then
I got other things going on, but she was able, like I kind of kept on her, but at the same time, I was leaving it to her. Like, if you want to hunt next year, this has to be done. And so she did.
I ended up doing though, how I passed it.
You went online.
I don't know anything about guns. Like, that would be like me telling you need to study for this makeup test and pass it.
So,
I'd be like, what? What is that? So I literally just looked up a study guide online.
Yeah.
And
you can
do the same questions over and over until I got it right and then move on. And I was like, okay, so I understood it and I passed it, but it's still it's not gonna click until you do it.
You get out.
But we also went over stuff as she was hunting. Unload your gun. Don't walk across the road.
For sure.
Hand the gun across the fence. Don't hop a fence with a loaded gun. Point the muzzle. All those things went over, and that helps. But
so sitting with Tala this week in hunter safety, it's changed a little bit since I went 30 plus years ago. They can actually do the classroom coursework online.
Yeah, and that's what she did.
What I did.
Yeah.
In Indiana.
And so
I was not understanding the questions, and I was like,
because I got this in. This is what I got in day one with the instructors that did a phenomenal job of saying, listen, we don't expect you to understand the difference between a center fire bullet and a rim fire bullet.
Yeah.
We don't we don't expect you to understand that eight shot shotgun pellet is going to be smaller than a 4-shot, for example. You know what I mean? But they do say, but they do say, I expect you to know how to be safe. I expect you to know where the muzzle goes when you have people around. I expect you to know how to check whether a gun is unloaded. And that's what they emphasize from day one. Yeah. And so Tala, who's 11 years old, you had kids even younger than that passing the test, passing the field work. And I was just amazed at the job they did. I remember when I took it, I was just, oh my gosh, I got to try to remember every single thing that they say. And you know what I mean? And even I said to Tala when she went and did her field work, it was more of a one-on-one situation. Whereas when I went out, it was like a group of 10.
Yeah.
And so
one of the things that I thought was really cool when Tala came home, it was last night, was Tala and Piper discussing how you would get a gun across the fence if you didn't have a hat on, if you didn't have you know, like what would you do to safely get that gun across the fence? And listening to them troubleshoot together, like I would take a sock off and I would put a sock over it, or I would do this, or, you know, it was really cool to hear them have those conversations about what they would do to safely handle a gun. And it just, that's so important in this day and age is with these kids is how to handle firearms correctly.
Yeah.
And
the gun education.
You know, and piggybacking off your theme of making it relevant, we've asked Tala for years, do you want to take hunter safety? Do you want to take hunter safety? She loves going out with mom and dad. She loves being in the woods. But do you want to take hunter safety? Yeah, no. Or when she did want to, when it came down to having to sign up for it, no, she didn't. So she wasn't ready to take that next step. It wasn't purposeful for her at that point.
Well, it doesn't sound like you pushed it on her either.
We didn't. So that's another
important.
thing. How do you get kids involved? How do you get women involved? Yeah, don't force it upon them. When they're ready, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
That's the patience piece. That's part of the patience piece we're talking about.
Yeah.
They'll let you know when they're ready to take those next steps.
Yeah.
Because really, hunter safety just allows them to carry a weapon. Maybe there's some women out there that don't want to carry a weapon. Maybe there's some kids out there that never want to carry a weapon. Maybe just want to be with dad or hang out with friends or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe just want to, just like we said, being out in the woods is a huge stress reliever. Maybe just want to be with you just because of the fact that they get to wind down and they don't have to be consumed with the stress that they endured that day. You know what I mean? And so they'll let you know when they're ready for that next step. And that's certainly what Tala did. That's certainly what Heather did. And that's what we have to do as guys. We got to have that patience to allow them to tell us when they're ready to take that next step.
Yeah.
And so to say it's a formality, yes, it's part formal. But I think the bigger part of it is you got to get them involved. Okay. We got to educate them in the right way. We got to make it relevant and meaningful. And then they'll communicate back with us when they're ready.
Yeah.
Build a foundation.
Build that foundation. Feel supported. Heather mentioned the fact that there are sometimes there are some clubs that we've gone to or some archery courses that we go to that it's just kind of like based on their beliefs or their opinions, we just don't feel like we're supported there. So it's just not fun. So we just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you don't want to.
And I would imagine you guys felt the same way when we were yelling at you about your sniffles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Trust me. She quit for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. She didn't quit for 5 years, thankfully for me.
Yeah.
But she definitely threatened. She's like, I'm not going to do this anymore. You're not making it fun. And I had to, take a step back and, apologize. Say, listen, I'm sorry. That's not what I was, intending to do there. And, just kind of assess it from her point of view and realize that, hey, she's got to chill out.
Yep.
We need to still make this fun.
Yep.
Okay, because if we're not making this overall deal fun, why do we want to do it? Too?
And from my perspective, share my passion because I'm so passionate about it that I can get pretty intense at times.
Oh yeah.
And so to understand the level of intensity that you're coming at them with, that's the patience, that's the importance of that. So earlier we had mentioned stereotypes, and Michael and I, since we've been involved in the outdoors and hunting and fishing and that sort of thing, and the stereotypes that come along with that, we've experienced that pretty much all of our lives.
Yeah.
And with the ladies being new to the sport, have you guys experienced those stereotypes? If so, how did you handle it? What did you do?
I don't think I ever really.
Any backlash? Somebody giving you a slack for being a hunter or a killer, as they like to say.
I haven't had so much of that. What I have noticed is just being a mom. It's not hunting as a female is not as attractive if you're not this cute young girl who's shooting this big buck. And so it's not sexy in that regard. It's like, oh, look at this girl and this big buck she got. And that's going to get the likes and get the views and whatever. But for me, like, I just want a deer in the freezer. Like, I don't care. Like, yes, I mean, of course, I'd love to shoot a big buck, but it's really not a huge deal to me. Like, I got to feed my kids.
Yeah.
I got to make sure there's meat in the freezer. And so I think for me, how does that look as a mom, where it's not necessarily like having to be like this sexy, cool look to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I'm just trying to provide for my kids.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to have my girls out there and hunting and knowing how to process a deer and how to field dress a deer and how to do all of that. I mean, I'll be real, the Tala can field dress a deer way better than I can, you know, and that makes me really happy. It's not about the social media likes and, you know, any of that piece of it. Like, I don't care. I'm never going to go viral for holding this huge buck. It's not going to happen. And I'm perfectly okay with it. Cause I know down the road, my girls are going to be self-sufficient.
Exactly.
And are going to know how to hunt, and they're going to know how to do it the
Take
right
care of
way.
themselves.
And they're going to
handle weapons in a safe way. And
absolutely, they're going to be able to handle weapons in a safe way. So I don't know if I've necessarily felt
respect the environment.
Yeah, I've never felt the stereotype in that regard. It's just, if I would post a picture of a buck I shot, like we'll say my button buck that I got, it's not cool. It's not going to get a lot of likes because it's not this huge big buck, and I so I think that's the biggest thing that I've had.
You're not doing it for the likes, though. You're
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
it
Yes.
because there's a reason why you're doing it.
Yes.
And you've filled that purpose. So
Yes.
as long as you're proud of yourself,
Yes.
that's the other thing. You can't just oh my gosh, you didn't shoot a big buck. Well, you don't start shooting big bucks.
Mhm.
You have to work your way up to that. Or if you're like us, you don't have time to sit and go hunt 30 hunts to shoot one big deer. Instead, you have to go 5 hunts to shoot a couple smaller ones. I mean, so be it. We're moms and wives, and we're not only putting food on the table, we also have to go home and cook the food. So, it's a lot of work.
You're right. We've got to go home and cook the food. We got to make sure the kids are at all the sports practices or the church events or whatever other things
Or
they
at
have
school, or
while the guys are out hunting.
It's hard enough just to sit down and relax, let alone
life
go out
has
and
to
do
continue.
deer.
Oh, yes. Life has to continue even when the guys are in the stands.
Well, and to cut you off for a second here, you have 2 daughters.
Yep.
We have 2 daughters. We have 3 total. And our oldest is a daughter and our youngest. And what you're saying there, I admire is, hey, I'm not some young, sexy, attractive girls. Then I'm not, and even if I was, I'm not trying to look that way. Okay.
Yes,
I'm not trying to put this persona on as I'm out here doing it for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Out here shooting these big bucks. You don't know how it went about. You really don't know how involved they even were. Yeah, and the people, that person doesn't care, and the people that are liking it don't care.
Yep.
It's just, oh, look at this beautiful young woman behind this great big buck, and they're envious, or they like her way that she looks. They don't know anything about that buck. Could have been a shot in a ranch, a high fence ranch. You don't know. I mean, somebody else could have even shot the buck, and she just took the picture with it. You never know. And so what you're doing is you're saying to your daughters, put your self-worth into you and into the hunt, into the meat, into the whole process. Okay. We're not doing this for likes.
Right.
Is what you're telling your daughters. You're not doing this to
commercialize it.
Yeah. And you're not doing it to find self-worth.
Yes.
If you get 100 likes, or if you get 1 like, it doesn't mean that, oh, you're unsuccessful now because you didn't get over 100 likes on your kill. No, it's, you put meat in the freezer, you're successful. You got out and got a stress-free environment, you're successful. You got to disconnect from the social media, from the Wi-Fi, from the YouTube, from the Facebook. And so I respect that. And that's what I feel like my wife and I are trying to do with our daughters. And I don't want to say it's not important for our son, but that stereotype isn't necessarily there for boys and young men. Yes, if they shoot a big buck, are they going to get more likes than they shot a small buck? Probably. Everybody loves to see the big giant buck. I mean, we all would love to shoot a giant buck every single year. And, so I get that. But I think it's more important because I find young girls put a lot of their self-worth in what other people think about them.
Yes.
Oh, and there's always someone with a bad comment.
Yes.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important what you're saying. And I think it's important for us too, to model it in a way that if and when our daughters start to hunt, they realize why we're doing it and how we're going to go about it.
For sure. 100%. 100%.
So I like that. It's so true. It's so true.
And so, yeah, for me personally, to get that backlash, it's just my personality. Somebody says something I don't agree with, you smile, you hug them, and say, "Have a nice day."
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
That's just
that's
kinda-
more of a man thing that they see you guys as just being like the forest killer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't really care for it. You just want to, you know, go in the woods and kill things.
Whereas you
and,
guys
know,
are the
you put
nurturers
any
and-
work into
Yep.
that. You know,
Yeah.
it's just you just want to kill something.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely will say that's true. You know, for women, I don't think. I guess I could say. I don't know if I would say like I don't know. I guess I would. Someone told Ella, our oldest, that
The hunting
guy
was
doing
bad.
was cruel, and that the meat was bad for
Mhm.
you. And what else did she say? She
Really
said-
just trying to
it was she said
get
some
her
pretty
to
horrible
never want to
things
hunt.
about
And
it.
it
was
worked
cruel.
temporarily,
Yeah. She didn't want to
unfortunately.
hunt with me anymore, and I was like, "Why don't you want to hunt with me anymore?" And then I found out, you know, that someone had told her that
A bunch of lies,
all
basically.
these lies, and it was actually a good opportunity to sit down with her and
And
tell
have a
her,
really great conversation.
yeah,
Mhm.
you know, how actually it's really, you know, the meat's actually better for you than cow,
Yep.
and you know how
Yep.
it's better than it getting hit by a car, and you know how you are conserving. Like, what do you call it? Like
Conserving.
a
Conservation,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're balancing the
you're-
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how many
Preserving.
deer are in a certain area. You know if it's a good population or not. He really pays attention to a lot of stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, if there's a lot of
Yeah,
does,
there's-
a lot of bucks,
I do
or
that
if there's
same thing.
disease
Yeah.
that came through.
We're fortunate enough to have enough properties. I tell her this property, no more than this many deer we're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And this property, we can shoot a couple more than this property. And, you know, it's all based on keeping the herd as balanced as you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I even go as far as, okay, my own personal philosophy is we just to balance it out, because we have just an abundance of does in our areas, that we should have 3 does gone before 1 buck. And I look at it and say, okay, our neighbor shot a doe across the street, neighbor shot a doe.
Mhm.
There was a doe hit on the highway.
Yeah. And those all count.
Yeah, those
There
all
you go.
count.
There's
Yeah.
the 3.
Yeah.
And so you're just, you know, like you said, you're constantly managing. And so, and if I'm not seeing a quality buck, I'll even let the smaller ones go and
Yep.
continue to fill the freezer with those. So,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, it's-
Yep.
That's actually something most people don't take into account either. You
Mhm.
know, they see a lot of deer heads on the wall and they think, "Oh my gosh, you got them all from this property yesterday."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the first time you walked out, the first arrow you shot, here you go. No,
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
they're off several properties
Over
and,
several
you know,
years.
over several years, and like you said, you know who shot what around here. You know, we know of a guy locally that was just taking loads of deer. Now, obviously, if we knew that at the time, you know,
Mm-hmm.
one of us would have said something, but we found out after,
After
it
the
was
fact.
in
After.
that he had taken 20, 30 deer in a year,
Oof.
10 to 20.
Yeah,
It's
it
pretty
was
horrible.
rough figures, but yeah.
We all kind of
It
found
was
out about
anywhere
it,
between
so
like
we're
15 and 20, it sounded like, and
Yeah.
like 5 to 6 bucks himself. And
Mm.
we didn't know about it, and it explained a lot of why the age structure is so bad in
Sure.
the area.
Yeah,
when-
and the balances.
for sure. Now that he's gone, you know, we're hoping to get it back. We've been feeding them, and we've been, you know, taking care of them, and you know, making sure they have good water out there, and keeping an eye on them out there. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot more to it for sure.
For sure.
And you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did cover Libby's topic. So how do we get
Yeah.
women involved? How do we get children involved? And of course, we ran down a few rabbit trails here. But you know, again, that's what Couch Chats is about. It's about blue-collared sportsmen talking about real things, and hopefully we provided that a little bit
Yeah.
for you. So you guys have anything else that you want to talk about? Anything else that?
Oh man.
Lots that we could talk about. Lots that we could talk about for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
We will need a part 2. Yeah, for sure. So I think our plan is to air once a month. So thank you so much for watching. Come back,
Yes,
check us
thank
out. Check us out again next month. If you guys have questions, if you have topics, look me up on Facebook, Todd Sellon. My Instagram, you can always Instagram me at cedar.ridge.hunting. Send us some questions, send us some topics. Next month we'll hit some new topics. Hopefully you stick around and keep checking us out. So thank you so much. Check us out on Facebook. We got my twinsy Michael, Midwest Twinsies.
Winning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sydney, Heather. Thanks guys. Thanks for
guys.
joining us. Stay obsessed.
Stay obsessed, guys.